the main principles of the university, they are academic excellence, personal development, internationality, and readiness to join the working world. This is always something, the working world, so that's the term of employability. In other words, what we aim at is that our students get an education that they can also use later on in their profession. And that doesn't matter whether they become professors in the end, so whether they follow an academic career, or whether they go to politics or do something entirely different, or logistics or whatnot. So, but the aim is really to prepare them for the real world so that they can really use what they have learned. And these are then, of course, the transferable skills also that they learn at the university. So what are our study programs? You can see that we have a pre-degree program that was, I think, once sort of semi-discussed in one of our consultative meetings. This is a pre-degree program for students who are probably not quite right yet to go to the university, so they might be very young still, or they might acquire some English skills or mathematical skills in order to really be able then to follow. Apart from that, we have bachelor's programs, and the bachelors are either bachelors of arts or bachelor of science, and they're just listed here. And when you go through the list, then you find some really classical programs, like, for example, mathematics, or what is another one, physics. They're currently being renamed. But most of the programs have a combination in names. For example, Biochemistry and Cell Biology is the program where I teach in, and that is also part of the success. So we are trying to have different disciplines combined in one major. So usually you would, for example, study biochemistry in the chemistry faculty and cell biology in the biology faculty. However, at Jacobs, we're trying to combine this, and this is just reflecting reality. So in the life sciences, you would no longer hire somebody who has studied only chemistry or only biology or only physics, but you really need to combine all the different fields. And this is probably also true for majors like the international relations, politics, and history, that I know that Amina, for example, was particularly interested in, so which is a Bachelor's of Arts program, and that also tries to combine different disciplines a little bit more in detail. Then we have a few master's programs, and here we hope to still grow, and also then PhD programs. In other words, we do have a lot of PhD students who work in our research projects and who also then support the master and bachelor education. So then I was asked to say a few words about the structure, and the structure of our programs is just outlined here. It's a so-called 3C model. So what do the C's stand for? So the first C stands for choice, and that stands for the courses of the first year. So in the first year, there is a number of courses that a student who wants to follow the IRPH major, for example, or the BCCB major, that they have to take that are mandatory. But then there are a number of further courses where they can choose according to their own liking. And this means that they are still open in their final decision on what they want to study until the end of the first year. It's not quite entirely like this, but it is really that, for example, a student who doesn't know whether he or she wants to study biochemistry and cell biology, or probably wants to aim at a degree in chemistry and biotechnology, is still open until the end of the first year to select which major to really follow. And that is meant with the first year choice curriculum. In the second year then, we have the core courses. So where we really teach in the discipline, and where we really have then discipline-specific courses that are really building the core of the education, basically. And the third year is then for the career, as it says, namely where the students then will select their bachelor thesis laboratory, or where they could also go for study abroad for one semester, or where they could work in a company, for example, for a semester. So where really we are preparing more or less for the labor market later on, and where the students really choose what they want to explore in that third year. So these 3 C's then are making up the curricular structure, and you will find that this is the same in all of the programs, no matter whether that is Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science. In addition to that, the students all have to take language courses, and they have a number of different modules in so-called methods and skills courses, where they would be trained in specific skills that are complementing their discipline courses. The languages, we are very clear in that everybody who does not come from Germany, which is about 75 to 80% of our student body, they all have to take a few courses in German, whereas then all the others are free to, so the Germans are free to choose from whatever is on offer. And I must say that I really don't quite know what is on offer. I think we always had Spanish and probably Chinese and French, and I really don't know precisely which offers we have. So, but in order to explain the structure, perhaps in more practical terms, I have brought to you now the curriculum of the International Relations, Politics and History program. So that is an undergraduate program, Bachelor of Arts program, that really wants to prepare the students then to become politicians, for example, or to go to the global economics market, or also to become international lawyers, or become a diplomat, or whatever the aim of the student might be. And I must say that I'm not very familiar with the program, but I'm happy to connect you with the so-called study program chair, who is Karen Smith-Stegen, and she, I'm pretty sure, would be happy to answer your specific question that you might have. But to explain the 3C model again and the curricular structure as such, this here is a relatively busy slide. I apologize, but I think it's also relatively easy to follow. So you would see here, for example, in the year 1, we have 6 of these boxes. And these 6 boxes, each box stands for a so-called module that is worth 7.5 credit points. And in these boxes, we have specific topics. So for example, here, the first one would be Introduction to International Relations, and that would be from the theoretical standpoint of view. And this is taught in the very first semester, and this is indeed, all of these boxes here are the boxes of the first semester. So in the first semester, the only course or the only module that is mandatory for this major is this one here, Introduction to International Relations Theory. Apart from that, the students can choose their own, according to their own liking, from other majors. So meaning that we can complement different majors, and they can take, for example, from a related major, let's say business administration, they can take another module from there. In addition to that, they have to then also follow the methods and skills courses, and in this major, this is academic writing and academic skills, like for example, presentation skills, discussion skills, and so on. And in addition to that, there is a language course. So this is the first semester here, and above that is the second semester. And again, in the second semester now, there is only one module which is mandatory. This is the Introduction to Modern European History, and the other 2 are sort of free in their choices. So again, there are methods and skills courses. Now they're going into statistics here. I don't know how popular that is, but the statistics programming with R or using SPSS is of course important. And again, a language course. And then we continue here. I just have to move around this box with sort of covering the slides. And then we continue here in the second year, where now you can see that the boxes are filled with more content. And this is the core of the education. So in the third semester, they have to all take advanced international relations in theory. They have to take empires and nations and nation states, regional integration, and international law. ME means it's mandatory elective, so they will have to take a number of these modules, not all of them at the same time. but it's on offer that they can take from these different electives here. They take probably 3 out of 4 of these electives. Again, they have methods and skills courses. Now it's qualitative research methods, and again a language course. And the 4th semester is again similar to what I just explained, mandatory elective courses in these topics here, and again the methods, and again the language courses. So the second year is the core education, so that's really where they would actually get the skills and in their discipline. Then at the end of the second year, which is the summer months, they would follow an internship. And this internship means that they have to apply and find themselves an internship, which is 8 weeks long. And this is actually quite demanding. So to apply there and send their curriculum there, their CV there, and also get like a real employment in an internship that makes sense. So this is pretty challenging, but it prepares them also, of course, for the next challenges then later on. And then in the 5th semester, they now have specialization modules. So we offer a number of different courses, and modules and courses is usually identical. I just say modules because that is our general term for it. So we have different on offer, and they can choose whatever they like. And then they are asked to do a so-called community impact project, which means that they are doing something with the community and for the community. So that is like the integration of the university also in the Bremen local environment. And then they start with so-called big question courses. So big question courses, for example, are like climate change or waste and pollution. And so they're really like general big questions, or like questions like in the health area. So what are important questions to humankind? And then the 6th semester, more or less, is reserved for the bachelor thesis, and they have to not only write up the bachelor thesis, but also then present it in a seminar, and then, of course, all together with the big question courses here in the 6th semester, they have then reached, hopefully, 180 credit points. Is this, I hope I explained it well enough. So the first year is the choice, where they have relative freedom in what they want to do. And the second year, then core education. And the third year is then for qualification. And parallel to that are always the methods courses, and is the language courses and the big question courses. Okay? Good. And so this sort of scheme is then also relatively successful. Hang on, now I'm hanging here. No. Okay, it's relatively successful, and here you see the study program chair of the IRPH program. This is my colleague Karen Smith-Stegen. She is actually originally from the United States. She's also here now since quite a while, and she is the one who is also pushing the IRPH program, and she's also very proud, as all of us are very proud, of the very good results that the university achieves in different rankings. Okay, and she says it's a dream come true. Probably when you ask her, sometimes she says it's probably not so much a dream, because you also have to integrate all of these different courses and modules, and sometimes this can also be quite a burden, I would say, at least for the study program chairs. So, and then I have put together here, or the university has put together some of the ranking results, and so once again, we are 21 years old now. But we are pretty well ranked. So number 1 private university in Germany, and number 5 young universities in Germany. And we recently had another ranking where we were the second best university in Germany in the university multi ranking, which is like a general international ranking. And so if you allow me, I will also continue now with my own program, which is the Biochemistry and Cell Biology major, because I know this a little bit better, and it will also allow me to explain how we bring in the research, because that was another thing that you put on my agenda, that I should also explain a little bit on how we are organized as a faculty and how we allow the students to actually integrate into the research projects. So you can see here the faculty of the Biochemistry and Cell Biology program, which is the top 3 in student numbers of the university. So we have always about, how many students we had this year? I think 30 graduates. So the program is relatively large. And you can see we have at the moment 4 faculty members, and a 5th we are currently just recruiting because a colleague just left. So there are 5 professors, and 4 of them have their research laboratory, whereas one of them, Susanne, she does not have a research laboratory on her own, so she is what we call a university lecturer. So she's not active in research, but she is more focusing really on the teaching. So we are the top 3 in the student numbers. We have very good ranking results, and I think I mentioned this already. The important part here is that we combine the 2 different key fields, biochemistry and cell biology, that you require for modern life sciences. So it's interdisciplinary, and it's also complementary, and it's a combinatorial approach. And of course, we also want to address then the major health challenges of modern societies, and I give you some examples of that in a moment. It definitely reflects the state of the art in international research. Also, our students very often, about 95%, continue in master programs, and later on actually will follow up an academic career or career in the pharmaceutical industry, for example. Of course, we want to meet these high standards that I just described, and we want to also have a broad variety of career options then later on for the students. And you can see the students here, and Neeraj knows this laboratory, so this is actually where they have their laboratory courses, so experimental hands-on courses. And you see them under pandemic conditions, they were still allowed into the laboratory. So we still did our laboratory courses with as much hands-on experience as we could. And of course, the professors are also involved there. So again, my presentation seems to be hanging. Okay, good. So here, similar to what I just explained for the IRPH program, also Biochemistry and Cell Biology has a number of different modules. However, we are a bit more defined in the first year. Our students have to take specific disciplines as a mandatory course, because that is really required for them to then follow up the program as it brings across then the core elements in teaching. Yeah, and then other than that, everything is the same, just the topics are a little bit different from what you have seen in the IPH program, but you see this modular structure, it's pretty much interchangeable as long as you, of course, need to fill it with content. So then I have put these stars here because sometimes people think that biochemistry and cell biology is just a major where you prepare for laboratory work and where you do not, for example, have any computational aspects, which are at the moment so important. However, all the stars here indicate modules where we also have computational aspects or where we work with specific computational programs, with specific programs, for example, for alignment of sequences of proteins or of genes, or where we have introduction into bioinformatics, or where, for example, they learn how to predict structure of proteins, or how to interpret images, so microscopic images. So it's also sort of tuned into that more, I would say, modern direction and modern orientation. So what are the research topics that we do? The research topics that we follow up on are just coming from the actual professors, of course, and the students who work then in our laboratory quite often end up in publications. So meaning they work on a running research project, and when we are publishing, then they also will find their name on that publication if they have done substantial work. And that is, of course, a very important element for them also to be rewarding, and also to have a very good point in their CV that allows them to apply to very good universities. And I'm just taking this example here from a collaborative work of Professor Springer's lab and my lab, where Aaron Valentine actually was an author, co-author of this publication, And that came out 24 hours after his graduation. So that's why I pointed out. Usually they have to wait for a little bit longer. But they can also, of course, involve in industry projects so that they, for example, also learn how material transfer agreements would work or non-disclosure agreements, which are also very important, of course, for them to know. So here is an example from Professor Springer's laboratory, and perhaps Neeraj, I don't know whether you're listening. You want to say a few more words about that because you worked in his laboratory?
Yes, but I don't think I should disturb you in the middle of the presentation.
Do you want to say something about it?
Okay, I think I will take 1 or 2 minutes. So, Professor Springer, thank you so much, Professor Brix, for giving me this opportunity. Professor Springer, his lab focuses mostly with MSc class 1 molecules, MSc class 1 proteins. So, like in a general term, MSc class 1 molecules are proteins. These are such proteins which are expressed in all of the cells, and they will present certain antigens towards our immune cells. For example, if we have a cancer, there is a cancerous cells. Some of the cancerous protein will bind to this MSc class 1 molecule, and they will go to the cell surface, and then the immune cell can detect, okay, this is a cancerous cell, we need to kill it. So his lab focuses more on that MSc class 1 molecule, and recently they had developed a really interesting technique called MSc class 1 tetramers, and it helps to analyze different cancer neoepitopes or different T cell responses. And the best part, or the main reason why I mentioned about this tetramer is because Professor Springer, he was able to establish a company based on this discovery, and then they recently sold it. So I think that's kind of connect, doing basic science and then moving towards a little bit more translational work, and I think that's really interesting.
True. Yeah, thank you very much, Neeraj. Yeah, I think he's the best advocate here for that project. It's really a fantastic project, and Neeraj has also worked on the project, of course, for very good reasons. So then my own group is more involved in proteolysis. So we are interested in proteins that cleave other proteins. And you can see here like a group picture from previous years on the left. And this is to show that we are really, really international. So on this picture, I don't know, see about 13 people or so, or 12, I don't know. But very often they also have dual nationalities. So I think my maximum was 17 nationalities and 13 group members. So I'm really proud of that. And I'm also proud of my graduates here. I was not there, as I said, but this is from this June, just a couple of weeks ago. And this time we were not as international because I had all the Serbians in my group, but I also had Alara from Turkey, and this is Ala. She originally comes from Iraq, but meanwhile she actually is German. This is Vaishnavi, she's from India, and then we have again Marco, he's Serbian, and we have Badia, and I really don't quite know. He's from the Far East, but I'm not quite sure from where precisely. I should know. And then here we have Bernardo, who is like half Italian and half Brazilian. So you can already see like the mix of different nationalities, but also that means it's a mix of different cultures. And I think that is one of the things that, at least for all the people of my group and also for myself, is really absolutely rewarding to work with. It's such a different experience. So then the other picture that I have here is just a little bit about my own background, but you can just read about that later on if you want. But I mean, it's just to say that I have a bit of experience in coordinating research groups, larger research groups in Germany, for example, but also, for example, to arrange for conferences and so on. And as I said, we are doing quantitative cell biology, so a lot of it is microscopy, and you can see here Vaishnavi is sitting at our beautiful microscope, and I unfortunately still don't know how to handle it and how to work with it, but I would love to. Okay, so then this is Professor Ulrich. He's in the microbiology department, and he has also a nice little video that you can see on the website, and he's interested in microbiology in general, but he wants to identify new antibiotics. And the new antibiotics can either come from rhododendron or they could also come then from cocoa beans, or they could come from waste products of the food industry, for example. It's another topic that he's following up. And I think he really makes the point here that it's really important to work together with many different groups to get something useful out of it. And here is one of the inventions that he came up with together with his colleague, Nikolai Kunat, and that is ruby chocolate. I don't know whether anybody of you has heard of ruby chocolate. Anybody heard about it? I only see black tiles now at the moment, so I don't know. But it's a new type of chocolate, and it was actually one of these industry-related projects where this was developed. And the students then, as I said, also involved in these research projects. So in other words, we are really trying with our research projects to, of course, meet challenges of today and tomorrow. This always sounds so big, but we really try to integrate the research as much as we can in our teaching approaches, and that means that the students will involve already, like in the second year, they will already sit in the lab meetings, and then in the third year, they will then work in the laboratories and then also write their thesis, as I said. Yeah, and then what else is there? These are a couple of numbers that we are very good in publications and so on. I just leave this here. You can look at it later. I'm not going into any detail. It's just some numbers that are showing that we are successful, fairly successful in research. Then cooperations in research are, of course, manifold, and I don't know what they've picked here, probably only commonly funded research, but you can see, once again, partnership with other universities is actually very broad. Of course, it could be broadened quite a bit, and we're still working on that, of course. So now the other element that's really important, where I think that also the University of Nepal will have a lot to offer, and that is that you need a vibrant campus community. And once again, here I would ask Neeraj to say a few words about what he experienced about the various club activities.
Thank you so much. I was not expecting that I would be
I know.
in the presentation. That's a really nice surprise for me too. But yes, I think one of the differences between the general university in Nepal and it echoes was the campuses that you talked about. Even though we have so many students, almost 1,000, we all lived in 4 campuses. So we could have that exposure to talk to and meet to so many people from so many different continents, all continents, I think, except Australia maybe, but so many different countries, and to experience their culture and everything was really awesome because we could learn what each thing meant to them, and we could also express our own culture to them. And I think that is one of the most important part. Other than that, referring towards the clubs, I think even in the Nepalese university, it is quite common to have these many sports clubs or arts clubs and everything. But one of the best part about Jacobs is because we are so small, we can actually connect to wider audiences. For example, myself, I was the president of running club and badminton club, and we were really active among the student community. We could always engage so many people, and we could always have so many participants in our things, and it was not only helpful in terms of getting some physical health, but also in terms of connecting to the other friends and making so many networking opportunities and all those things. So I think it is really vital if we can find a way how we not only have our clubs just so that there is a club, but we can actually mobilize those clubs so that a student can actually get something more than just being a part of it. I think that is absolutely essential. Other than that, one starking difference might be something called undergraduate student government that we had, which I was also really fortunate to be a president of. In Nepal, I do realize we have so many student associations, and mostly these are based on politics. But at Jacobs, we had the undergraduate student government, which is non-political, but it was composed of all the students, could be composed of all the students. And the main job of this undergrad student government was to help the fellow students. For example, when you just get admitted to a university, you have so many questions like, for example, what is insurance? How can I get housing? Which courses should I take? And so many of those. And this USG or undergrad student government, its sole purpose was to help these kind of students. And other than that, the USG was also really involved. I think Professor Brix might talk about it on improving the courses, because as we know, we are always evolving, and research or science is such a field that you never know what will change. And having an active USG or having an active student feedback loop always helps to evolve the course and the contents that we teach. And I think that is absolutely essential to provide old standard academics and old standard education to the students as well. So I think having a opportunity for a student to do something and giving them a leadership opportunity actually helps not only the universities but also the student to the greater extent.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And as Niraj said, he was not prepared, and I didn't prepare him with the selection of slides. And I think this slide here also shows what Niraj already pointed out, that the club activities are not only important on campus, but they're also important to connect then the campus to the rest in Bremen. So this is just like a map of Bremen. And so we are basically located here somewhere. And you can see there are many other dots actually where we connect to other clubs or to foundations or to neighborhood activities that really help then to integrate also the student activities with the rest of Bremen. Right? You want to point out any, Niraj? Otherwise, I could say like there is this beautiful piano to forte. Yeah, piano to forte is wonderful. It's a singing competition or like a musicians competition. And it's a charity event, so all the clubs are able to collect donations there, and it's really a highlight. It's only once in a year, and I love it. All my friends from Bremen love it, and we all come. So it's really fantastic. Really enjoy it. So apart from that, of course, the students can then also make friends for a lifetime. Niraj cannot say much about it because he just graduated. So, but of course, he will have made some friends for a lifetime. We hope at least. And he's now also, of course, an alumni. And these are a couple of numbers which are potentially interesting. So, the numbers are, I don't know how they collect the numbers, but then about 90% of our graduates find their first job within 1 year. So that's pretty good, I would say. And then 50% even find it within 3 months of graduation, so really good. And then about 84% would recommend going to Jacobs University. That's fine. That is a very, very nice number, I would say. And 71% found their first position in Europe and 44% in Germany. I think that is one of the points that we did not really expect. Because we are such an international university, we did not expect to recruit so many students from all over the world who then also want to stay in Germany. This will be different for the University of Nepal because your aim is a different one. You will, of course, want to have the students from Nepal, which I very much understand, of course, because they're really good. And then you want to keep them also in Nepal. But I think for us, that was showing that there is really quite a draw of brain and talent. Yeah, and so there are a couple of other numbers here, like where they get their jobs, so they are very good perspectives. And probably just like one or two examples. This is here from the president of the Jacobs University Alumni Association. He is one of the more active presidents, Stefan Rustler. He is originally from Germany, but he's German and Thai, so he's like again one of these dual nationalities. And I think in his speech he said that he became a German Thai during his time at Jacobs. Beforehand he was feeling more like a German, which is interesting. So, and currently he works in Switzerland as well as in Thailand, and he also keeps very well connected. I know him because he's a good friend of one of our former alumni, and we actually met at her marriage, and that happened in Switzerland. So that was, just showing how well connected we all are. And then perhaps this young gentleman here, I think he's originally from Romania, and he has just won a major competition, and he's come up with designing a device that assists the blind actually in being able to go shopping, for example, on their own. So really also fantastic achievement. And then some of you might know him. He's also a graduate from Jacobs University and specifically from Professor Springer's group again. And this is Hashem Al-Gaili. He comes originally from Yemen, and he did his master studies here. And then later on, he really became then a Facebook star. So he's like in social media quite a bit, and has 32 million followers. Meanwhile, he might have 33, I don't know. But he's also one of these students who then also comes back to us and also gives back by also giving donations, which is one part of the income. It's not yet the major income, of course, for the university, but we hope that this will more of these examples will follow. So this is our happy graduation here. You can see that's from this year. And this is the Biochemistry and Cell Biology major. You can see they're all very proud here. And Niraj is in the center, in the real center. And Niraj, I don't know whether you want to say a few more words about comparison to Nepal. And I will stop sharing the slides now. Thank you.
Yes, that was a really nice picture, actually. I still have it on my phone. Yes, I think I should definitely go into the main point where I was suggested to share some of my experiences with regards to the differences that I felt. I don't think I can quite relate to because I only did my high school in Nepal. I was a student at St. Xavier's College in Maitiga, and then I moved to Jacobs University to study biochemistry and cell biology, and I finally graduated 2 weeks ago. And currently, I'm working as a research associate at Jacobs University with Professor Springer himself, where I'm trying to work with MSc class 2 tetramers, so different kind of proteins, but same technology, let's say. And then, just to give more introduction, I would say I would be studying cancer biology from October in German Cancer Research Center in University of Heidelberg. So I'm really excited for that too. But now going towards the main point about the differences that I have found, I just listed like 5 points and I would go through each. The first is with regards to focus on practical knowledge and experiences. And I think this concerns more of the laboratory courses that we had as a biochemistry and cell biology student. And I kind of compared the laboratory courses that we had with one of the bachelor's program in KU, one of the university, Kathmandu University, and I have so many friends studying biotechnology there. So we just had a chit chat, and then I kind of see the difference between studying at Jacobs and being a biotech student in KU, and that is definitely the laboratory courses, because I think having a really strong laboratory courses definitely prepare you for the future interviews. For example, if you want to go for an internship during your undergrads, or right after the bachelor's, if you want to just take a year off and go to the industry, I think having these laboratory courses and those courses where you not only do basic things, but also get used to so many state-of-art techniques and technologies. For example, we had a really nice microscopy with Professor Brix lab and all of those things. I think having those kind of instruments available to the students during their bachelor's course is absolutely essential, and I think it helps a lot to the student to kind of explore what they might want to do and what their opportunity might be. So I think one of the differences that I found personally by talking to my friends is the lack of focus on practical knowledge in KU at least, and more at Jacobs. Another point on this particular thing is the thesis as well. So for example, if we are in the academic field, writing a thesis definitely help us to kind of get used to the phenomenon of writing things, because now we can't escape from writing. We have to write everything. We have to write a thesis, we have to write a paper, we have to write a grant application, and all of those things. So it was absolutely amazing at Jacobs that we have so many resources from different sources, for example, our professors and also some other communities that exist that help us with academic writing and academic skill writings and all those things. So getting this kind of helps in a practical way was absolutely amazing, and I think it actually prepared the student to do something in their future and to try to think if they would like anything that has writing to do. And the second point was with regards to engaging students, and engaging students in the sense of academics. What I mean by this is at Jacobs we have so many teaching assistant and research assistant. So a student who is currently studying major at Jacobs, they can actually be a teaching assistant to, let's say, the first years. So having or giving opportunity to a student to kind of help their juniors with the courses, I think it creates a two-way phenomenon. One, where we are creating some improvement opportunity for the students, which is really helpful because then they get used to more real-life problems. And the second thing is, our professors are really amazing, but sometimes students do have problem understanding our professors. So if we have a teaching assistant who is also a student who just like graduated or who just passed the same course 1 year ago, we can learn a different way of looking at the same topics. So by engaging students, our own students who are in second year or third year, to teach first year courses or to help professors with first year courses, I think it kind of creates opportunity for students not only to talk to each other, right, to pass the knowledge from the seniors to juniors, but also helps juniors to kind of understand or to kind of give some idea about what they are doing wrong or what they might do right or something like that. So I think engaging students is one of the things that I saw at Jacobs, and I think it would be really important if we can kind of implement something like this in the University of Nepal as well. The third point was interdisciplinarity. I think Professor Brix talked about it. One of the really nice examples that I wanted to mention was, so one of my friends here, he majored in computer science, and he also took so many classes from economics. And now, after his bachelor's degree, he is trying to open a startup from the beginning, like from himself, and he is trying to base it in Nepal. And it is really inspirational to kind of see that, because I don't think if he had stayed in Nepal, he would have gotten that opportunity to kind of combine those two fields, which might have given him this confidence to actually start a startup right after the bachelor's degree. So if we give students enough opportunity to combine their courses, for example, CS with economics, history with psychology, or if this is not possible, then have something like biochemistry and cell biology, where we are not necessarily combining two majors, but we are creating a different varieties of broader molecular life sciences. So I think this kind of varieties or interdisciplinarity, it actually helps students to explore the field. And also I think this kind of interdisciplinarity is important if we want to bring some revolution in the field of study that we are doing currently. So I think that can be a major talking point if a university is planning to think about its courses. The fourth one is campus experience, and I think Professor Brix mentioned about it earlier. It is more about interculturality, having so many networking opportunities, respect for the cultures, and I think most importantly, making friends for life. And I think that is also really important other than the academics and everything else that we do. So other than that, I think one important point that I felt from my own personal experience with regards to campus is, if we live on the same campus for 2 or 3 years, we kind of get connected to the campus. And I think if there is a student who is living somewhere else and they come to campus just to attend class and they go back home, compared to that and living on a campus, I think it kind of helps to build a connection to the university itself. So for example, if we graduate, then we will not feel so far away from the university, because we will be always missing the campuses, we will be always missing the people that we shared those wonderful 3 years and all of those things. And I think that is absolutely important in the longer runs, because that might be one of the way how we can actually engage our alumni and bring more of the alumni funding so that university can get one of the sources of income as well. And then the last point that I wanted to talk about, and I think I had briefly mentioned, that is a feedback loop between students, faculties, and admin. And I think it is absolutely important, not only in sense of creating a leadership opportunity for the students, but also to evolve our courses, because yes, we have so many wonderful faculties, so many wonderful admins, and they are capable of doing things. But if we create an opportunity where students can also contribute in one way or another, where they can give a new perspective, where they can, mention about something that they are excited about, I think it creates a wonderful bonding, not only between these three different but important entities, but also it helps to make universities up to date with what is going on. And I think having such a feedback loop is absolutely essential if we want to actually exist and perform at a higher standard as a university itself. So I think these were 5 points that I just kind of scribbled, and I just wanted to mention here from my own personal experience. Before just ending, thank you so much, Dr. Singh, for giving me this opportunity. And also thank you so much, Professor Brix, for inviting me here. It was absolutely amazing to be here today.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Neeraj. And of course, I knew that you would be, just firing up all this. So it's, of course, Neeraj is a little bit the exception, but he's also pretty much a student that you would typically see here. But of course, obviously, he can speak up, yeah, and he can make a point, and he also knows how to convince not only professors actually to change, but also admin to change. And I think that is also one of the elements that I enjoyed the most here at this university and still do, is this openness. And there is like this connectedness between all people who are working on campus and living on campus, because the exchange is different when you are actually on the same campus. And there is a lot of respect, but on the other hand, there's also very open and transparent criticism. And I think that is so essential in building whatever you want to build. Yeah, and so we have changed our curriculum, I don't know how many times, in response to the students' demands, in response to the demands of others who are supporting us. And I think if you can sort of build with this spirit, this will be fantastic also. Okay, good. And now I'm just not saying anything. Thank you very much.
No, you probably have much more to say. Thank you so much, Professor Klaudia Brix, and thank you so much, Neeraj. That was so good. That was like, there was lots that you shared it there and kind of complemented Professor Brix's presentation so nicely. I can already see Rick's hands raised, but before I go to that, I just have a quick announcement to make. We've had some technical issues connecting with the cloud today, so we have not been able to record the Zoom conversation today, but Mona has been doing screen recording on a desktop. So what that means is, other than just showing the window of who's speaking, it shows the whole window. So because we've actually been uploading our videos on YouTube. We have a University of Nepal YouTube channel, and I've been putting up all the recordings of our webinars on the YouTube channel to ease of sharing with our colleagues as well. So if any of you have any reservations with your name or your face appearing in our YouTube videos, because it's going to be a public content, please do let us know. If you remain silent and we don't hear from you, we'll take your silence as a sign of consent. I just wanted to make that announcement. So please do raise your hand if you have a question. Now I go straight to Rick for your question.
Thanks very much, Amina. And thank you, Dr. Brix and Neeraj, for a very interesting presentation. I have many questions, but I guess the first one that leapt to mind when I looked at your course of study, it was very impressive, very intense, very progressive, I would say. Yet it seemed to require that the students know exactly what they want right away when they arrive on campus, unless everyone does this pre-year, but it sounded like that was more for certain students who needed extra preparation for college. So I guess I'm wondering, based on my own personal experience and the experience of many students I've counseled, many students don't arrive at college knowing what they want to major in. And in most places, it's postponed till the second year at the earliest. And so I'm just wondering how you handle that and how you deal with students who want to change tracks at some point. They decide that they want to switch majors, let's say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a very relevant question, of course, and that is one of the points that I have not really touched upon. There is an academic advising system, so that means that every student who arrives here will be connected to one of the professors of the major that he or she chooses from the beginning. Let's say a student like Neeraj actually arrived here and he knew that he wanted to stay in the life sciences, so he chose biochemistry and cell biology, and he had an academic advisor. He will meet with the academic advisor, hopefully, and then the academic advisor will try to find out whether that is really what the student wants, or the student immediately comes with the question, well, honestly, I'm not sure, I want to study medicine. That's the general question that I get in the first semester. And then I say, well, there are different ways of preparing for medical studies, and then we go through the other majors which are related and try to explain what the differences are. So, for example, medicinal chemistry and chemical biology is more on the chemistry side, it's more on the pharmaceutical side, whereas chemistry and biotechnology is more on the biotechnological side. And that is usually also where we try to combine the majors. So when I said they can decide at the end of the first year, the typical student who starts with biochemistry and cell biology can change to chemistry and biotechnology, can change to medicinal chemistry and chemical biology without any problem. Yeah, because we have joint modules that are mandatory for all of them. And however, there are also students who say like, well, I'm not sure whether I want to do psychology. That's also a very common thing. So that student would be advised to take then the elective modules in that field. And this is made possible. Yeah, so there are very few combinations which are not possible. For example, biochemistry and cell biology cannot be combined with physics for whatever reasons. But that's just not possible. But apart from that, most of it can be combined. And most students are then advised not only by us, the professors, but now, Neeraj, it's your term again, right? So they also have a student advisor. So they can also talk to the students and try to figure out like what really their wish is. I don't know whether that answers your question. I think
yes, partially. I guess I'm also wondering about students who maybe undergo a radical transformation and decide that they want to switch from, biochemistry and cell biology to, the international relations and politics course or something like that, which happens.
Yeah, we have quite a couple of these changes, and there are statistics about it. And I know that from biochemistry to cell biology and cell biology to IRPH is indeed what happens relatively frequently. But relatively frequently means that it's perhaps 5 to 10% of the students who do such a radical change. The most radical change that I've ever seen was a student who started with BCCB, then graduated in chemistry and biotechnology and became an actor later on. So, and that was actually determined not by, of course, determined by his own interest, but his parents wanted him to study something real, and not to become an actor. And so that is one of the things also to keep in mind, that the parents, of course, also have an influence and they have a certain say, and then it takes some time for the students also to be able to say like, no, that's really not what I want this and that. And we're trying to support them, of course.
Thank you. Mitaji, I see your hand raised.
Thank you very much, Professor Brix. I'm assuming you can hear me, right? Great. That was a very interesting introduction. I know that the college is very popular with Nepali students. I have a niece studying there too. She's moved on to a master's degree and she's enjoyed the experience very much. So I was very interested in. I was just curious. I believe a lot of the European universities, colleges have a 3-year undergraduate program. I don't know for sure, but at least the programs that I know. And here in Nepal, as well as in other countries, like primarily in North America, they have already been doing a 4-year undergraduate program. So I was just curious as to how that sort of ties in when students want to move across to other countries to carry on to pursue their additional education.
Right. Yeah, that's a very, very relevant point. And we started from the beginning with a 3-year bachelor program. So that was clear from the very start of this university, but we were the only ones having 3 years. So everybody else had 4 years. And you can only do this when you really condense the curriculum such that the students are able to study it. So living on campus, for example, helps. So the students do not have to commute for a long way, and so they don't have to take the bus for an hour or so. They just live here. They just basically, they go for breakfast and then they're in the classes, or they're in the classes and then go for breakfast. So I think that really helps. And I must say, our students are pretty burdened. So they start at 8:15 in the morning, and the last classes might end at 10 in the evening. Yeah, so it's rare that this really happens for an entire full day, but sometimes it's unavoidable. So the time management skills will be fantastic in the end. Yeah, so they will never have any issues with time management, but it is demanding. I totally agree.
Right.
But I mean, at the moment now we are all accredited, all programs are accredited. So meaning changing within Europe, within the Bologna system is not a point. Yeah. So this is not a big issue. So that's easy because it is defined that 30 hours of work, I think, is equivalent to 1 credit point in this system. And this is guaranteed. And so since we are accredited, this is also like checked by a certain agency, and we have this certificate, and so that should work, and it does work.
Right. But what if the students, they go to United States for a graduate degree? Does the number of credits sort of account for a 4-year period, or how does that work? Because many years ago, when I did a 3-year undergrad program in Delhi, and then none of the colleges in the US would take me in for a master's program. And, I didn't have the time or the money to do another year of undergrad. So I was just wondering, does that still happen, or are the 3-year courses aligned and students could get into a Canadian or an American university for graduate studies?
They do get into these universities.
Wow, okay.
So,
Great.
and we do also have many collaboration partners who now actually look
Great.
for our students and get them immediately. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So we have also internship programs that ask only for our students and get them as a recruitment tool. But that was an issue in the beginning. That's true. But with the United States, we don't have any issues whatsoever. Also not with Canada, certainly not with the UK. In the UK, we have many examples where the students are immediately admitted to a master PhD program. So where they are immediately admitted then to a 4-year PhD without even doing the master. And that is, of course, it's reputation that you need to build. But I have not seen any problems in that sense. No, not at all.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Thanks. I had seen Lou's hand raised.
Yeah, thanks, Amina. I was basically the same questions as Professor Nita, knowing that as a former registrar in Canada, where a number of the universities I worked for had 3-year degrees. We called them PASS degrees, and they were 3-year degrees, and we had significant problems. People trying to get into graduate degrees in the U.S. I do know about the Bologna agreement, the Bologna process, and they talk about the degrees being either 180 ECPS or 240 ECPS, 60 credits per academic year. It's interesting to hear and good to learn that Jacobs is not having problems having its students get into U.S. programs. My experience is different, but I'm glad to see that things have changed.
Yeah, so I mean, of course, you're absolutely right. The ECTS credit point system, of course, and the reputation that we've built over the years certainly helps. But we definitely have students that go to that choose basically between Stanford and the University of San Diego, University of California, San Diego, for example, or NYU and Princeton, and I don't know what. So we really have all the students in these prestigious universities, and I think it's very clear we have the 180 credit point system, and everybody in Europe has that now, and so I think it's more like an adaptation to a general theme. Yeah.
Thank you, Rick. You have another question?
Yes, thank you, Amina. And I don't want to hog all the questions here, but I didn't see any other hands up.
Neither
so
do I.
If someone else wants to jump in, I'm happy to stand back. But I have a couple questions related to the balance of research and teaching among your faculty, Dr. Brix. And the two questions, one involves sort of the history of the institution. So when you first started out, what was that balance like? And then the second one is, today, how do you manage that? And the reason I'm asking specifically that second part is, it looked like in your department, you have fairly small faculty. Mm-hmm. You have a lot of courses that their students seem to need to take to do to manage, to get their major in your discipline, and yet several, I guess 3 of the 4 maintain research laboratories, and I don't know how many of them are externally funded, and whether you need to get grants to then buy yourself out of teaching, or you make use of adjuncts, those sorts of issues, how those are managed.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's, of course, a very important point. for a young faculty member, of course, for me it was fantastic to set up this place. Yeah, so there was nothing. We were a military base, and there was literally nothing. And so I helped in shaping this university. Therefore, I always say it's my university. Yeah, so it's really, I was asked, so which courses do you think are important? How should the laboratory look like, and so on. And that's a once in a lifetime experience, I think, that you cannot miss. And I would never miss it. It was so rewarding, and still is like, filling me with a lot of proud thinking about what we have achieved, and also it was really it was a wonderful, heartwarming, welcoming experience altogether. But you're absolutely right. So now, if we are hiring now a new faculty member, then of course that new faculty member would be integrated into the group of already existing professors, and we would try to also allow that professor to keep up with the research. Because to be very honest, you can look it up in wherever you want. My track record was like when I joined in 2002, I had a number of publications, and then you could see like for the next 2 years, a number of publications, and then zoom, a drop for about 3 to 4 years. Yeah, that was very clear because we were so involved in setting up the university that we could hardly focus on research. However, now we would try to level that out a little bit more, and it's really important to treat your faculty well, so that they have the freedom also to set up their research and keep their research up and running. We all need to find the money for our research ourselves, so we are not supported by the state. We are not supported by the university, other than that we have wonderful laboratories and that we have good co-workers, but we are not supported with like big money or anything. So whatever we want to do in research, we have to really get from third-party funding. Yeah? So we have to write our grants and so on. And it goes as far that the students, when they're involved in their bachelor thesis, that they actually work on third-party funded projects. This is good. It's also good for us, but of course it also means that the university sort of relies a little bit on the fact that we are research active. And so the only way how you can do it, or how I can do it, is basically focusing on my research now in the summer months. Yeah, that's when I really do a lot of research, and also then try to just be good in arranging my time. But I'm not saying it's not demanding.
But how do you manage to cover all of the teaching that needs to be done with such a small faculty who are also running active research programs?
Right, yeah. So the faculty members, so are you putting this on YouTube as well? But never mind, I think it's like a general term. So each faculty member has a teaching load of 4 courses. And 4 courses means 4 courses that are 5 credit points worth. So that means in terms of a lecture, for example, one course is 28 times 75 minutes contact time. So each semester has 14 weeks. And so the contact time is like we meet twice a week. And our contact times are 75 minutes, which is a little bit unusual, but that's just the way we have it. And that is in one course. So that means that I am teaching indeed these 4 courses. And then somebody who is not so much involved in research might even teach a little bit more. And that's basically what we do. And so the only way how you can solve that problem of having so many courses to teach and to offer is to have very good interconnected majors. Yeah, I think that's why I pointed out that we have the biochemistry and cell biology, the chemistry, and biotechnology, and the medicinal chemistry and chemical biology, where we try to integrate as many courses as we can, so that we don't have to find a faculty member for each of the majors for each of these courses or modules. I think that's the only way how it works, and dedicated faculty. You definitely need dedicated faculty and treat them well.
Can I just ask one very quick specific question?
Sure.
Do your faculty receive a startup package in terms of a lump sum of money to get their grant or to get their labs set up and running?
No, that was very cleverly done with us, because there were no labs, there was nothing. And so they asked us what we would need and what we would be able to share. And so how it goes here is that we share really everything. So for example, I'm the expert in microscopy. So I was asked to get the money to buy a big instrument, a big laser scanning microscope. And the other colleagues supported that proposal. And so now there is, for example, a colleague from chemistry who is now trying to get a big mass spectrometer. And so everybody else then would actually support that proposal. That's how it goes. And we share it all together. So meaning that I give the expertise to my colleagues when it comes to the laser scanning microscopy. Whereas then if I need mass spec, then one of my colleagues would be in charge. And that works very, very well. So in other words, no kingdoms, no queendoms, but we really have shared laboratories and shared instruments. That's absolutely essential. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that last bit. I mean, I think that's like really, really important. I just wanted to kind of share that probably the quality of today's video would not be kind of good enough to put on YouTube, but it'll be for our internal use. I had seen Dr. Karki raise his hand, but I also have a question. I'll kind of jump in if that's okay, Dr. Karki. I'm really curious about the big question, the course, and I would like to hear a little bit about how it's done. And I would also like to hear from Neeraj about what did he do in his big question class? I'm really curious about how it works.
Yeah, so I'm the wrong person to answer that question, and probably Neeraj can answer that, and then I can give you some historical background where it comes from. So Neeraj, you first want to explain how the big questions classes work nowadays?
Yes. I think big questions are really interesting, not gonna lie, because it is at the end, the third year when you're like doing everything else, but you have to still take classes. So I think the main idea behind big questions, if we look at the courses, it is more about tackling the bigger questions of the world, like something that concerns everyone. And two of the classes that I took as a part of my bachelor's was the first one, global health. And in this class, we didn't go into the science, but rather into the statistics about the different kind of diseases, different kind of tropical medicines, and how it affects the community, how it affects the different part of the world, and what is the current situation, and what we can do as future graduates to challenge those and to solve those. So I think it was more about to show us what actually lies in a basic terms, something that is more connected to the community and the people, and also to kind of give us an opportunity to explore certain fields. I think that was the main purpose of global health. And the second class that I took, and I think it was one of the most important, or let's say most interesting for me, it was called Relevance of Art Today. And it was really interesting because it was the most different class that I took. And in that class, we talked about different kind of arts, different form of arts across the history, how arts have changed, and also how art have changed the community itself. So we kind of delve into different artists, their role in wars, their role in peacemaking, and also the contemporary art and how artists kind of revolve or kind of evolve their art to connect to the people and all of those things. So I think big questions for me and also for students, it is more about answering those simpler questions, and sometimes these simpler questions has bigger meaning in our own life. I think that was the main aim of these classes.
Mm-hmm. So if I understood it correctly, so does that mean, like, let's say there's a faculty and let's say I am in art and I say I want to do a big question course around relevance of art today, and I just designed that whole question very much from a problem-based learning perspective. Is that how I understand it? Is that correct?
Yeah, right? You want to say?
Yes, I think so, because the professor who taught us that class was Professor Isabel Wünschen. She's really amazing museum expert. And then she told me that she actually designed this class last year. So she just had an idea that this class might be interesting to people. And talking about arts and artists and history and connecting all of those dots to the contemporary society might be interesting. And that's why she told me that she kind of used her expertise in museums and art to design this course. And I think it was absolutely amazing and blockbuster, at least because we had like 54 students in the class. So it was the hit for her.
So this is still like an elective, right? So you can choose from the ones that are offered. Okay, fantastic. I had seen.
I'm sorry. I mean,
please do.
So the historical perspective of that was that in former times it was such that we had courses that were taught by two different professors from two different disciplines. So, for example, I taught a course together with a professor of history, and so the topic of that course was fictions of science. So and that was it was science fiction and fiction of science, and it was a fantastic class, right? Because I learned a lot from the history professor, and he learned a lot from me from the science perspective. So I think these big questions are like doing something which is out of your comfort zone. I think that is the important part here, right? So for the students, it's also out of their comfort zone, whereas for the professors, it's something, I might just want to look into that, yeah? So it seems like a really interesting topic, so why not do it? Yeah, it's of course, it's extra effort, but why not?
Thanks for clarifying that as well, because we were actually just talking about this in our recent meeting about we were talking about like interdisciplinarity, and we were also talking about the possibility of two different people from very different disciplines working together and finding a common ground and to have an interesting conversation. Earlier, I'd seen Dr. Karki raise his hand, and I'm also getting question from Ram Manohar Shrestha sir as well. Maybe Ram sir, maybe you would like to go. Oh, I see Dr. Karki. Would you like to go first? Okay.
No, it was not a question. Question I will wait for a while. I just wanted to say that the main reason why we got connected with Klaudia through a mutual colleague of ours who teaches at the University of Edinburgh is that Klaudia played such an instrumental role in reshaping the Jacobs University and its academic program that you guys got to get hold of her so that you could learn and benefit from her, those experiences, unique one, as he says, lifetime opportunity. So I just wanted to acknowledge that historical note so that you understand why we are after Klaudia.
Thank you so much, Arjun. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Karki. Ram Manohar sir, I think you had a question.
Am I heard?
Yes.
Also, thank you very much, Professor Brix, and you have shared very interesting material about the course design and other aspects of the topic today. And also, it was nice to hear from Neeraj very valuable information as a user of the educational services of that university. So I have a few questions that are related to the structure of the courses and the process. I think probably that would be helpful to our colleagues at UAM to develop the courses and curriculum. How is the course design process at Jacobs? Who starts the course design? Is it? I'm asking this at our own university, the Asian Institute of Technology in Thailand. Normally, we have the faculty who is going to teach the course. Is the one who will be designing the course material, the course outline, the contents. And then we have the process of the colleagues in the program, the discipline or whatever you call the department. They will probably have the review of the proposal for the course content that is designed by individual colleague. And after we get the review report or whatever feedback from the colleagues, then the faculty concerned will be maybe revising if necessary. If there is no then it will stand as it is. Then the next is the course material or course outline has to go through is the school level review of the courses.
Okay.
That body is bigger because we have also colleagues from other departments of the school. But the review feedbacks or comments will be more related to more of the formatting and whether this kind of standardization or regularization, some kind of homogenization in the structure. rather than the content, because the faculty from other school may not have that expertise to comment on the content itself. Then ultimately, it has, after the school level review, the courses will have to go through the academic senate of the institute. So that is the process we have. Once the academic senate says it is okay, everything looks okay, then it is ready for offer to the students. So that is the experience I have from Asian Institute of Technology. Whether you have a different kind of setup or process at Jacobs, that will be interesting to listen. And then,
thank you very much. Shall I probably try to answer already a little bit of the question? And Rick, you have to leave. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. So the design of courses is something that we discuss with our peers. So meaning that we know, of course, what is important in cell biology, for example, and then we discuss the content of a cell biology class such that I would suggest a specific syllabus, so which contains then keywords and key themes that I think are important for a course which is called molecular cell biology, for example. And then our colleagues will look at it and will say like, well, I think you might want to cover this a bit more, that a little bit more. So very similar to what you are describing, that it's like peer expertise looking then at the course content. But what is also important is that, as I said, the courses, all our study programs are accredited. So this means that we have to go through this accreditation process where an agency also does this review process, whether we are following whatever content they would expect for a life science major, for example. Yeah. So, and there is a specific content that we need to follow. And then there is, of course, something that we can bring in, which is then from our own expertise. So, for example, I teach a course which is called biomedicine, and that is very dear to my heart. And then I change it every year. It can be that I cover, at the moment, for example, I cover a lot on COVID-19, but I cover also malaria or cancer or whatever. But this is more what I can change, like from year to year, and according to the interest of the students and according to what is an actual topic. And that would be a specialization class, yeah. So where we are not so bound to the actual content. The other review that happens is, of course, by the students. So the students tell us if they feel that a course is too easy, or if it's too tough, right? And we have course evaluations every semester and for each course. And I do read my evaluations. I take them serious, yeah, so very serious. And then the students can also very openly comment, and we have rounds together with the students so where we can discuss then about the content. And here probably Niraj can say a few words also that how he perceives it, because he has been the president of the undergraduate student parliament, but also has been in the academic senate. So probably you can comment from that side, Niraj.
Oh, yes. I think I also touched upon it when I was giving a short presentation, so to say, at the beginning. That is regarding the student feedback, and with the roundtables where we have the deans and also the faculty members, also the students, and we go through all the feedbacks that the previous years gave, and also we touched upon some of the problems from the student side. And I think this kind of opens a feedback loop, and also we kind of can confront the deans or the faculties if you want to. So I think the openness kind of comes into play here as well. And one of the changes that we made, so to say, is increasing specialization courses. So for everyone, specialization courses are supposed to be more specific courses. And through the academic senate and the roundtable, we kind of increase the numbers of specialization courses, and we kind of make it more diverse, because it was perceived by the students as they want more of those. So I think these are the small changes that we can make. And with the student feedbacks, having a student government which is non-political and who actually think about students, and also having the kind of openness and giving opportunity to a student to actually speak up and to talk to the faculty or to the admin. I think that is essential if we want to kind of evolve. And I think that is something that Professor
Yeah, I think the evolution part is really, so it goes in circles, in several circles, and rounds of feedback. And if we are not changing, then of course this will become very overt, because the students are very clear in their opinion, right? So if they would then, you can also look it up actually how good our courses are, because we have something on the website which is called like a handbook of all the courses, and I think there's also a list where it says this course or that module is rated on a scale of 0 to 5, it's rated 3.5 or 4.5 or whatnot. And this is being looked at also like at the university level, so that we can also compare what is our standing. And I think like it's open exchange really, and then we have to adapt, of course, definitely, yeah. The academic senate is of course, so we have a constitution as a university, and one of the important parts is the academic senate, where the main decisions are taken, but the main decisions are usually prepared in committees, and there is, for example, a committee which is called University Committee of Education, and they would also look into issues like do they have enough electives, is that and that approach the right thing, or should we change it to something else, and that is very important. So that's very much also, as you said, like it's peer feedback, but then it also has a formal process so that we can make sure that there is quality control and quality management. Yeah. Does that answer your question in part?
Very, very much. Thank you very much. In fact, Neeraj covered in fact, both of you covered the second question that I had in my mind. That was the student evaluation, which you already covered. We also have that kind of process, student evaluation of the course. Twice a semester. So once it is done midway in the semester, so the faculty gets the reviews from the students midway in the semester, and the final one at the end of the semester. So there will be student evaluations of the course, midway as well as the final at the end of the semester. So I think that is well worked. The second, then I would like to also know about the evaluation process, evaluation of the student in the course, particular course.
Okay.
Different elements of the structure of the evaluation process of a student in the course. For example, the written exam is one, but there are also other elements of the evaluation, not only based on the written exam. So what teaching practice you have? Is it a standardized evaluation structure, or the faculty also would have some flexibility in evaluating a student apart from standardized criteria?
Yeah, so that's also a very relevant point. Thank you very much for that. So you can download from our website the handbooks, and it gives one sheet where it says which module has which type of examination. And many modules will have written exams. So in the beginning, a lot of it will be written exams. But then the more the students progress, they have other things like paper writing, like presentation, poster preparation, so where you have more elements where the students then become active. But when it's a written exam, what we do is that we try to give throughout the semester training quizzes, for example, so where the students would get sort of more or less familiar with our way of asking questions. Everybody has different ways of asking questions, so the students actually, as I learned, hate multiple choice questions, to say bottom line, yeah? So they don't like multiple choice questions because they are trick questions, and then they always feel, oh, there's something behind it and whatnot. And so I try to give different types of questions, like definition questions, short answer questions, long answer questions, a lot of questions where they can think or like connect the content and so on. And we train this in these quizzes before, and then we speak about the expected results, so that I also get feedback on how that was perceived and so on. And I think all of my colleagues do the same thing, so that we try to show them what we would expect,
and then they also give us feedback on how well that was perceived. But we have learned, unfortunately, with the accreditation and the Bologna process, that we are not allowed to give so many quizzes. Yeah, so therefore this is a voluntary achievement. You can have that as a bonus achievement, but you cannot have it like as a mandatory achievement any longer, because Bologna does not allow it. So who is then grading and who is doing the corrections? For me, it is that I do all the corrections myself. So because only then I get the feedback what they have understood and what not. And however, we also have student TAs who would pre-grade, for example, or who would go through lab reports, for example, and they read the lab reports and then comment from their perspective on what's wrong or what could have been better. And then the final grading authority is, however, with the course instructor in the end.
Thank you. One more, if I may add one more. Is it all right?
Please do. Then we have Prof. next, but please do. Go ahead.
About the teaching review, peer review of faculty's teaching. How does it go? Do we have that kind of system, or if there is, how does it go? Peer review of teaching.
Yeah, we do have sort of a system. So, for example, I'm supposed to speak once a year with my dean. And my dean is actually a professor in chemistry. So, to be very honest with you, I don't think that he's a good cell biologist, but that's all right. And I'm not a good chemist, right? So that's absolutely fine. But he will still go through my teaching evaluations, and he would know from year to year, whether I'm getting better or what's not so good, and so on. And I think the important part is really that we do read and really take serious the student comments, because they also can openly comment on the classes, and that is really taken serious from both sides. Yeah, and it's very constructive. And so I think there is like the peer review in that sense is not that I would sit in a class of my colleague and say like, oh, I think you could do this better or that better. But we do exchange and say like, oh, I do it this way, and then give examples so that we can learn from each other. But we really learn the most from the students' comments, honestly. So there's also always a course speaker, at least in my courses, so somebody who would collect also input throughout the semester and then would immediately tell me, you should change this or that, yeah? And so because not everybody likes to speak up or likes to write an email to me or would like to enter my office and say like, no, this is not happening, yeah, so you have to change this. And so I think that is also a very, very good way of getting the feedback, and yeah. And we take it serious, so yeah, mutual respect, I think.
That is quite I think it has to be based on mutual respect and also openness and to receive whatever comments, feedback the colleagues give to you. One final, which is not related to undergraduate now. How is the master's program structured at Jacobs?
Oh, yeah, the master's program, you're touching a very sensible point here, because we had a very nice competitive master program in the life sciences, and they terminated all master programs about 7 years ago, and we never got ours back. Which is a little bit of a drawback. It's actually a big issue, I must say. And the structure of the master programs is a little bit similar to what I explained for the bachelor program, the 3C model. So there is a similar structure also for the master programs, where, however, it's slightly differently called. So there is also a focus then on the career, there's a focus on skills, there's a focus on experiments, for example, and thesis and so on. So it's a very similar structure. What I can do is that I add a slide from the master structure, which I had actually kicked out because I thought like we probably will not touch it, but I can enter that and then you would see the structure. So it's also modular, very similar to what I explained for the undergraduate program, and also interdigitating so that we can cover different contents in different programs. Yeah, I will let it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, both of you. I think Roger had a question. Yeah.
Claudia, I have just two questions. Like, do
undergraduate student get research laboratory at your group lead? Sorry. Do undergraduate student can do research in your laboratory over there?
Yes, of course. Of course. Yes, and they will. Yes.
For how many months do they do research in the laboratory?
That depends very much on the student. So, like technically, they only have to do their experimental thesis work in the laboratory, and that would mean something like 4 days for like 4 weeks, let's say, in a laboratory. But that is, of course, not good for really doing good research. So, if a student is super interested, he or she will join my group already in the third or fourth semester, and then we'll hopefully join them for practical experience in the 5th semester and write the thesis in the 6th semester. And the student who is really into it will invest as much time as he or she has. Yeah, so they will come anytime and they will work in the laboratory on a specific topic. And I have many students like that. There are, however, also occasionally students who really only want to work these 3 to 4 weeks, and that's it. Yeah, so, but they are really invited to work in the laboratory. And one element that we use also, which I didn't really point out, is when I do my second year course, for example, the students work at the research instruments. So the students work with a laser scanning microscope, which costs like 500,000 euros, for example. So they work with these instruments, so to also get an idea on how it would be in the real world. Yeah, and so colleagues from Germany sometimes look at us as if we are crazy and say like, you can't do that. But I think that is really essential because they need to learn how to use these instruments, and usually they're much, much better in learning it than I would be, for example. So it's very intuitive, and so they are allowed to work in the laboratory. That's only possible then when you have a supervisor, which is either a PhD student or master student if you have master students, or in my case it is our lab technician. She's very knowledgeable and she really knows a lot about how to supervise the students. Yeah, but they do work hands-on in the laboratory. Yeah.
The second question, like you have 2 courses like chemistry and cell biology, and maybe cell biology and biochemistry in undergrad, but I don't see the similar course in the master's program. So do you know the reason behind why don't the university they keep the courses?
I mean, I know a lot about the reasons behind, but probably we would not discuss it here in this audience. I think the idea is really that the master programs, that in the life sciences, you cannot charge a high tuition fee for that, right? So you could only charge like a specific amount of money. And I think that was not fully understood, that there are so many differences in the various disciplines. I think everybody understood that we do need a master program, and I think we will also now get it reinstalled, but it's always a question of weighing the benefits for the university in having master students who could then also help in the undergraduate student education. I fully agree. So we definitely need to reinstall it, and we're working hard on it, and we're hopeful that our new leadership also will install a new master program also in the life sciences. It will not be called Biochemistry and Cell Biology, but it will be called probably Molecular Life Sciences or Life Sciences or similar. Yeah, and we had one before, so you might still find it if you are searching for it. It was called Molecular Life Sciences. It was highly competitive, and it really worked very well. But we had almost no tuition for it, and as professors, we taught courses on top of our regular teaching load, so for free, basically, in the understanding that we'll gain a lot from the master students as well. And we are willing to do this, and will do this, of course. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Krishnaji?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Brix, for this very interesting presentation. It's very nice learning for us. One thing I'm curious is about the interdisciplinarity that was not so clear to me. For example, if you have somebody like Neeraj who graduated in molecular and cell biology, he may be very good in that. But on the other hand, we are also, at least at the UAN, we are looking at the overall development of the graduates, so that even if you are an expert in biology, you also know a little bit about other disciplines, and so you appreciate how different disciplines intersect. Yeah. So that's in that context. Do you have a provision whereby a student can have a major in, for example, in molecular and cell biology, and a minor on, say, international relations or vice versa, or maybe even major in two different subjects? I would be grateful if you could
I want to say something about it, about the major minor issue, and then I can say something as well.
Yes, I think just to touch upon the smaller varieties, for example, I graduated with biochemistry and cell biology, but I had to take courses on mathematics and also on physics. I also took some classes on Python, so we do have some of these smaller things that are already incorporated. But regarding the point of major and minor, I think there are some options. The minor options are not that popular with the biochemistry students because of the workloads and the laboratory classes that we have. But so many of my friends who studied computer science, they minored in economics, and so many of my friends who studied international relations, they were minoring in psychology and all of those stuff. So I think ACOS do allows that, but I think there are some restrictions with certain majors where you don't have enough time to actually take another course load. And regarding double majors, it is possible, but I think you have to take one more extra semester because you have to write another thesis. I think that's according to my knowledge, but I think Professor Brix might be expert on this.
Yeah, so we definitely strongly not advise to take a double major because of the workload. A student who really wants to have a double major needs an extra semester, if not an extra year. And so then very often I think the students also will find out that probably it's not really the double major that they want, but they want an elective from here, an elective from there. And if somebody's really interested also in a different field, it's well possible to add courses on top. Yeah, so they're not bound to the 180 credit points. They can take more. So I have seen students who took another 30 credit points on top of their general obligations, and that would show in their transcript. And so if they want to continue then at another university, one would see the courses that they have taken, and one would see, that was a really ambitious student. But however, we did have students who did double majors. We even had a triple major, which is, yeah, exactly. But he also had a startup company by the time that he triple majored. So I think this was, I think he was a very, very special person. And he ended up later on being at Google and, I don't know, Stanford and whatnot. So, we have these rare exceptions, but usually I think it's enough with a major and a minor. As Neeraj said, there is a possibility. Mostly it would be, for example, biochemistry and cell biology student would have a minor in medicinal chemistry and chemical biology. But honestly, biochemistry and cell biology is already in itself a lot. So, we always think it's really enough, like for good education.
Thank you. Very clear.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're kind of approaching towards the end of our 2 hours. So 7 minutes left. But this has been a really useful conversation. Now I'd like to request Dr. Karki if he has any closing remarks or any thoughts to share to our group today.
Well, thank you, Aminaji, for asking me to say a few words. As I said earlier, the very motivation that we did not give up to pursue Klaudia is we would like to learn and benefit from her unique kind of experience in reshaping the university at a time when it was going through a lot of turmoil.
and that is a very gracious experience. Not everyone could have the opportunity to have the responsibility of managing and transitioning through such challenging time. And she has been so gracious to let us benefit from her as and when needed. We are still keen to welcome her physically in Nepal and meet with our colleagues, with our leadership, and have a very continue our discussion on some of the critical issues that would be of great value to us. So I would like to thank her, Klaudia, for you agreeing to speak with us and our colleagues here, and also Neeraj for sharing his perspective to enrich the discussion that we are having tonight. Because this is a very focused kind of a presentation, I may not have understood or realized all the aspects of the Jacobs University undergraduate curriculum, the way it is organized. One of the things that we at the UIN think is we would like to strike a balance between what we call two aspects. One is we would like our graduates to be, for the lack of better word, we call enlightened. Mm-hmm. Our theme is they need to learn about life and the world around them. Which includes from cell biology, molecular biology to the universe, the society, the culture, the beliefs, all that kind of thing. Because people who would be living in the 21st century, if they do not appreciate the complexity of the world that we are living in and various forces that are at play in shaping that world, we believe we will be doing some disservice to our students and to our citizens and to our future leaders who need to transform Nepal. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The other one thing is also at the end of the day, they need to find a job, they need to raise their family, they need to survive. So you have so clearly articulated in your slide the issue of employability, the career, the third C. And we completely agree with you on that the aspect of employability part. But given our need, the kind of educational system that we have, we would like to bring a little broader kind of a foundation to our students. Mm-hmm. We do not want to, encourage them to specialize too early without having a broad-based foundation upon which then they can choose which way they would like to go and evolve depending upon their interest, aptitude, ability, and so on and so forth. But nevertheless, the Jacobs curricular structure is a very inspiring one, as also evidenced by one of your graduates who happens to be from Nepal. So we are very pleased to see Neeraj pursue his study there and pursuing, waiting to pursue his master's. Every university has its own mission and its own needs, and it wants to focus on certain challenges. Therefore, there is nothing wrong to have different models. But there are in any approach, there are a lot of lessons that are of great value that we need to appreciate and try to choose, select, and try to integrate
that is found appropriate to the local ecosystem that each university has to operate. So I learned a lot, Klaudia, from your presentation today, and I hope and believe so did our colleagues who were able to attend this event today. I would like to thank Claudia, Neeraj, and all our colleagues. And it will be a big disservice if I do not acknowledge both Amina and for organizing such a wonderful event and moderating it, and also to Mona, who has been part of the team to get this thing going, and now with the additional responsibility of even recording it. Since the main plan didn't work out, she had to pursue the plan B. So I hope those colleagues who missed this event due to various reasons could still revisit and see what was being discussed, the main concept and ideas, and then they could still take advantage of the essence of the discussion. So with this, I think I hope this is not the one-time slot, Claudia.
No.
We wish to continue this dialogue even in the future, and Amina is very smart in doing that.
Yeah.
So she'll keep in the loop, and so is. So Neeraj, when you come to Nepal next time, we need to sit down and discuss a little more to really get from your experiences and your perspective, because you know both the world, you know Nepal, our culture, our ecosystem, and so did you in Jacobs University, different ways of doing things, that what are the possibilities. So you will be the go-between person for us. So that is what we expect from you. So I hope you will not deny us to benefit from this opportunity. So with this word, I would like to thank everyone, and this is what I have to say. Amina, the floor is back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kaki. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Claudia and Neeraj and everyone here. It's been like really useful, this conversation. And as Dr. Kaki said, hopefully this is not the only one. Well, I have a feeling we'll definitely have to go back. I think along with Claudia's presentation, I think the questions that were asked were also equally useful, especially for me personally, just to even frame like how to think about things. Because there's just so much to think about, but it's helping me organize all the issues and the critical questions that we have. So the questions that were asked also were like really useful today. There was just so much for me to unpack, but the point about the choice, the core and the career, that was also very useful, especially the emphasis on the methods part. And I think this whole idea about, how we talk about like the opposite, we put the two things in opposition, like more of the liberal versus the employability approach. But I think I see this more as a merger of both, with a very different orientation of education for career, where it's not so much on specialization, but more on skills. So that was also something that was highlighted. I mean, I was kind of going on it in our liberal arts education forum the other day. It's not so much about specializing in a field, but it's more about building the competencies to prepare yourself to engage in the professional field. There's just always so much to learn. It's a lifelong process, and that's you're not going to be able to offer everything in a 3-year program or a 4-year program. So I think for me that was a big aha moment that I got out of today. And also the big question course I found it very interesting, and I'm really excited. The other thing was a lot of the stuff that was shared today it's so much in line with a lot of the values and the ethos and the principles that we have
documented even in our APC report. So it's kind of useful for me to realize that someone is actually doing it in the world somewhere and it's working. So this is like really exciting. It's been really useful. So thank you so much, everyone. I see Dr. Karki raising his hand. So yeah, over to you. And I'll say good night and goodbye now.
Sorry to take time. You know, we have Dr. Lohani among us who have been telling us to pursue and study carefully the Jacobs program many times. So it would be a great injustice if I do not request Dr. Lohani to say a few words on this very event. Dr. Lohani, please.
Dr. Karki, thank you. First of all, my apology that I don't think I have heard everything well. But I had read about Jacobs University the first time when Professor Brix appeared in our consultation meeting, and I think I think I've been impressed, especially with their foundation course and a few other things.
We don't see your face, Dr. Lohani.
You don't hear me?
No, we don't see your face.
Well, my face is not looking very good at this moment. Because I think all I have to say is one thing is I have read about this after Professor Brix was in our consultation meeting. I went and looked at that university. I got very impressed about the 3-4 things which I think been close to my heart. One, the internationality, the interdisciplinary, the creating some foundation course for the university, for the students, no matter what they feel, what field they are in, providing flexibility to the students. Yet, I've always believed they do the research and academic, but I'm in the camp that they need to have skills so that they should also be able to be globally recruitable. That's been my thinking. I haven't looked at the global recruitability index of the Jacobs University. I think many of the elements to me would be very, very useful for us to visit again in the context of developing the University of Nepal program. And just to end, whatever I heard, very good. The first part is especially very important for me regarding the other procedural course evaluation, etc. I think those things are matters of detail which probably there's enough in the system globally that we can pick or we can design our own. But especially my request to the University of Nepal is look at their first year foundation course, look at the modular, interdisciplinarity, internationality, research and education, yet have skills. I don't believe in just having a broad interdisciplinary degree without a skill. I want them to be recruitable to after they have graduated. So just to repeat that part would be very, very useful for us. And I personally, when you have the tape, I would like to listen to that again. I'll go back and read again, and then we can have a very nice discussion among our University of Nepal. In short, I think I spoke a lot. In short, thank you very much, Professor Brix. This has been very useful. I've been impressed on day one, even before this presentation. Now I'm learning a little bit more. But I'm not finished yet. I mean, we have many questions to you. When we really start doing the real homework, we will have many questions. I hope you will be amenable to help us throughout the whole process. So thank you, Dr. Karki. I wasn't preparing to speak, therefore my remarks are very choppy and disjointed, probably unfocused. And if you look my face, you will know why that has happened.
You are an extempore speaker, so I never doubted about your ability to say something very important and useful.
No, I must say that my wife listened to this and she is laughing that you didn't. I don't think I did a very good job. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Don't worry.
Well, thank you all very, very much. I really appreciate all your wonderful comments. So, and really, I hope that it was instructive, and I really hope that we will continue this conversation. So please, bombard us with questions, no matter what. Bombard us with a request to bring together more Nepalese students from Jacobs University. I'm pretty sure if I write an email to the Nepalese community at Jacobs or Niraj does, we will have many volunteers to also, answer questions in different fields, or, having just more of an idea also of what the students think, because I think that is so important also when you shape a university. You cannot do it without them, and you cannot do it, of course, with this wonderful community that you already are. And so really, very, very many thanks for your many super interested questions, and let us know what you need, and certainly we are here at your disposal and help you. Definitely. And at one point we will definitely like to come. So.
Sure. We are ever ready.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Everyone, good night. Have a good day. Both of you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.